Welcome to our review on viral diseases. The first viral disease we need to know about for the AQA spec is measles. So as the title of this video suggests, it's caused by a virus, and the way that it's going to spread from one person to another is through the air via droplet infection. Now, if you are infected with the measles virus, then what you're likely to see is you're going to end up with a fever and also get this red skin rash that you can see on the right there. It's not just a case of you're going to feel a little bit unwell for a bit and then you'll be alright, because there are some cases where you can actually go on to develop more serious symptoms. This isn't obviously going to happen to everyone that gets measles, otherwise we'd have a lot of problems, but there is the risk of this. So you could become blind, you could get brain damage, and you could even die from measles. So it's quite a serious disease that sometimes we may not realise how serious it is. In terms of the treatment, there isn't one. You just get better over time, hopefully. But we do have techniques that we can use to prevent it. The first one is a vaccination program. So hopefully you've all been vaccinated against measles. And you can see in the graph on the right there that measles was actually quite a problem disease for many, many years back in the 1950s and before. But in 1968, we had the introduction of the measles vaccine. And if you have a look and see what happened, we've got that decreasing trend. And if you look at the end of the graph, by the time we're around the 1990s, the number of cases is incredibly low. The second viral disease we're going to look at is HIV. Now, hopefully we know that HIV is spread through unprotected sexual contact or by exchanging bodily fluids like blood. Now, when we're talking about bodily fluids, some of you like to ask, can we get this from saliva and kissing someone? Well, the answer is no, not really. Because in order to get HIV infection from saliva, you're drinking gallons of spit. Now, I don't really think anyone would kiss someone who's slobbering that much for enough time to drink that much saliva. So we're going to say unprotected sexual contact and exchanging body fluids like blood. In terms of the symptoms, then after your initial infection, you're likely to develop flu-like symptoms that are going to last for a few weeks. Then they'll go away and you'll feel fine. And this can go on for years of feeling absolutely fine. But what's happening is those HIV viruses are actually invading the white blood cells. As it invades the white blood cells, it reproduces inside them, and then they get to the point where they burst out of the white blood cell, destroying it. And this is a double whammy for our body, because what we actually see is all the time they're inside the white blood cells, we can't make antibodies to fight them. And when they burst out of the white blood cells, they've destroyed some of our immune cells. So what we actually find is we're reducing the number of white blood cells and they can't actually produce the antibodies to attack them. So two problems. And what we find is that this is going to weaken the immune system. And this is going to often result in AIDS, which is the final stage of HIV infection where your body can no longer fight off these life-threatening infections. And something that a healthy person would have really easily gotten over could actually result in the death of someone with AIDS. In terms of the treatments for HIV, then we've got no cure. We can, however, use antiretroviral drugs to control HIV, but that obviously won't help if you've already gone on to develop AIDS. So it's not a cure, but it can certainly extend lifespans. We can, though, prevent HIV infection. So by making sure that whenever you're having sex, then you are using protection. So that is a condom, not taking the pill, which does absolutely nothing to protect you from sexually transmitted infections, only stops you getting pregnant. So always use condom in order to protect you from these. We can also do things like screening the blood products so that we're not going to be using infected blood for transfusions in hospitals. And if you happen to use needles for anything, then don't share them, because the moment you share a needle, that one time could be the one time you infect yourself with HIV. And as we've said, there's no cure for that. The last viral disease we need to know about is one that affects plants. So this is tobacco mosaic virus, or TMV for short. We see it spread when there's contact between the plant and an infected item. So this could be that you've used some secateurs on one plant and spread it to the next, or it can also be spread through the soil itself. When we've got a plant that's infected with TMV, then the leaves become discoloured, as you can see on the right there. And the reason that they discolour is that the chloroplasts are being prevented from forming. And if we don't have chloroplasts within the leaves, then they're not able to trap as much light energy for photosynthesis, which means the growth of the plant is also stunted. In terms of treatments, there's nothing we can do for treating the plant. All we can do is try to prevent it. So any infected plants need to be removed, and then washing your hands and tools between plantings or between cutting anything. And if you've had an outbreak of TMV, then make sure you don't plant another crop that will be susceptible to it. Instead, plant a resistant crop in the soil, just so that it then hopefully will die off before you then plant your crops in the future that are susceptible. Hopefully at the end of this video you can recall the key features about the 3 viral diseases: measles, HIV and TMV.